Shoot.
How was it?
Fantastic.
Will the low water summer ever end? It's not looking like it anytime soon, so in the meantime, I'm really enjoying playing down little falls in my playboat, a few little spots to practice boofs, a few places to surf and try new things. So until the water comes up, just get every ounce of practice that we can out of the water that we have. I love this splat into a practice boof. This baby boof at the top of Z is great. Just approach it with speed like you're going to go over the rock on river left. You want to be just right of it and plant a big, huge stroke on your right, which should launch you across that eddy line and plop you comfortably in that eddy. This is a good attainment move to try. I always struggle with it, especially in my playboat, so good luck. If you get rejected, it's no problem. You can just ferry back across the river into one of those friendly eddies on river left.
Now.
I know it's tempting to just blast down, but try and catch some eddies on the way down in Z. It's really good practice, and if you miss them, you can always ferry back out, hit your line to run that little drop at the end.
Oh, dude, that nub will crack boats too. Woo! Woo!
Oh, nice.
All right, nice brace, dude.
Okay, the bone zone. In low water, this is where you're just picking your way through rocks to get to the main channel of the Potomac, midway waves, all the way down to Little Falls. There's two ways to do this. Well, there's many ways to do this, but the first is to ferry all the way over as far and high as you can, and then just hug the bank, running those little rapids on the way down. This is the safest in terms of bumping rocks. Otherwise, you can read and run diagonally down the left and then go right. It's very good practice for low consequence read and run. I used to hate this, but now I kind of enjoy dancing around between the rocks on the way down, plotting my own course. So a really good way to build confidence in that if it bugs you.
All right.
Stern squirt eddy is a great place to practice stern squirts. I'm getting the form down in my playboat, and of course it's much easier to get the weird stubby little tail underneath the water. I'm nowhere near as capable, despite my very minor capabilities in my rewind. That's a 9.5 foot almost boat, and so getting all of that tail underwater is challenging for me. But I'm using this little playboat, getting my form down, getting used to how it feels, and hoping some of those skills translate when I get back in that rewind eventually, if we get more water. You hate to see it. I pulled my boof stroke on the right here when it should have been the left. I'm trying to get over those rocks and orient myself into the eddy, which is to my right as I'm heading downstream, making it river right. The objective is to pull myself over the eddy line and plop down into that eddy. There are strong eddy lines here and at the second boof practice, but it's still a great opportunity to get the form down. I always have trouble surfing this in a playboat. You need to get way up high onto that shoulder that's surfer's left. Once you get up onto it, it's going to drive you to your right and back, and you need to be fighting for your position that whole time. And even when you hit it, you want to be angling more surfer's left because you'll get kicked out if you're too far right.
Why does it hate me so much?
One great way to make water seem bigger or more powerful is to paddle a smaller boat. Taking the playboat down Little Falls when it's nice and chill like this in the low 3s is a really good way to just sort of make it a little bit more challenging. Harder to get over an eddy line, easier in some respects, but the smaller boat is slower. It has less contact with the water. And what that means is you have to fight a little bit harder for your position. So if you're practicing aggressive river-wide ferries, the Hairy Ferry, interesting moves across, like I said before, powerful eddy lines, a playboat is something that can simulate the feeling of bigger water if you are in a bigger boat, like a creek boat or a half slice. Typically, my minimum for Beaver Slide is about 3.2 feet, reason being that below that it gets a little more shallow. There are more rocks to contend with. There are a few places you don't want to flip over. You'll be okay, you'll flush, but definitely bumps and bruises and potential for some facial injury. So the line is really just to hit it straight on, and then you want to be working your way just a little bit to the right because there are ledges that are more and more exposed on the lower river left portion of this little drop. Additionally, the lower it gets, the more the rocks there are sort of on the way down. There's one in the center slightly to the right in the middle of your line, and there are a few at the outflow to avoid. So start in the middle, work your way right, aggressive eddy right if you can. Otherwise, just stay right to avoid those rocks, and you'll be fine. Super good at this level, 3.17, and I'll keep probing, trying it lower and lower until I discover my limitation.
Get nice and slow at the top so that I can kind of scout, see what's going on. It does require a little navigating. Oh, all good. Yeah. Perfect, dude. Nice line. That's all on video.
Hey, thanks.
I'm coming straight down that, dude.
I've been doing this line a lot lately. Basically, I'm starting at the eddy above Welcome Wave on River Right. It's kind of a boily, active eddy. Then what I'm doing is getting up to the very top of it, punching out, and then ferrying my way just over the shoulder of Welcome Wave and paddling upstream aggressively into the Scout Rock eddy, which is river left. And from there, I'm going to attempt the Hairy Ferry.
Okay, that felt more like a hole.
Kayaking is a lot about preparing. I get hung up on rocks trying to exit the Scout Rock eddy to do my Hairy Ferry, lose my angle, get it back. All of a sudden I'm in my head about getting stuck. Then I can't decide if I should just run dark side. It looks like I'm not going to make the eddy. I panic, and rather than make a decision that I'm happy with, I stick on the Maryland side and just run it out. The way to avoid this, first of all, is to plot my exit over that eddy line. I could have seen those rocks and just exited with a higher angle and a little more power, gotten up with my boat position, looked where I wanted to go, and paddled like hell. I would have been fine. Aside from that, if you're going to attempt something like this, you need a plan B and sometimes even a plan C. If I'm going to lose my angle, well then my secondary objective might be, let's just try and run dark side hole. And with a tertiary option being a last minute save and running the River Right boof on the Maryland side. But I wasn't thinking about any of that. And so that's why a little planning foresight is really valuable. And of course, for safety reasons on harder water as well.